26 twice. Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vedvan yuktas samacharan. Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vedvan yuktas samacharan. Verse 26, very, very famous. Let not the wise man unsettle the minds of the ignorant. And who are the ignorant? Ignorant are those who are attached to action. Karma sanginam. Understood means a wise man is one who is detached to action. Understood. So if the ignorant are those attached to action, the wise are those who are detached. That's what makes them wise. So what is the yardstick for people who are teachers, leaders, people with knowledge? How should they conduct themselves? He is giving us an indication. The art of guiding mankind. What is that art if you want to guide mankind? Who are the people who guide the mankind? Leaders of society are those who guide people. And this advice is meant for leaders who are endowed, who are blessed with knowledge. So it's a great challenge, a great responsibility to be leader, because even there you could err. I'll get into it. So the 26th verse, he says, let not the wise man unsettle the minds of the ignorant who are attached to action. What should they do? Acting united with the self, let him make his actions attractive. All they need to do is let their actions be attractive. Vidwan yukta. Vidwan, as I've said, is the wise. What should the wise one do? Yukta. Sarva karmani samacharan. Keep acting, having united, yukta, united with the self. Let not the wise man unsettle the minds of the ignorant. This is the mistake, as I've said, everybody does. This in fact is advice being given to teachers, not to students. So the moment you know something, the moment you have knowledge of something, it becomes very natural to start advocating it to others, start advising others, start imposing your views or opinions. Well intended though, very well intended, the intention is not being doubted, but the fact that you know something good, and today in the era we are in, we are not short of information. Like this morning I was just ironing my clothes, and my full-time advisor at home, my life advisor, so if you find any extra wisdom coming, you know that's the source. So as I was ironing, Amy, do you know what? When you have a headache or a migraine, first thing is you must do is you must not drink coffee and tea. Oh, is it? What is that? Oh, sorry, cold one. I didn't get it correctly. So when you have cold and flu, you should not drink coffee and tea. You should only have vitamin C. Vitamin C as much as orange or the other. Then I said, in the lemon is it there? How much is it? I don't think so much, but still you can take it. Thank you, Guru. Advice is coming. Any subject matter you ask, there's plenty of knowledge around. In an era where at the touch of a finger there is information. So the moment you are well versed with something, the onus is on you how you conduct yourself thereafter. What do you do with that knowledge? So those who have this knowledge have blundered because they have violated this principle. And the moment you have violated the principle, they have seen it as a backlash. History is stained with such episodes. Startling and alarming as it may seem, it is a fact of life because you have violated what Lord Krishna is saying in verse 26. And what's the violation? You should never ever unsettle the minds of the ignorant. Fact that you have evolved, you have gathered, you have gained some knowledge, a great responsibility is on you. How you disseminate that knowledge, how do you part that knowledge? Why should you not be hasty in delivering that information to others? Why should you be careful that you should not push your views onto others just because you have appreciated something? That doesn't necessarily mean they also should appreciate it, they also should receive it, they also should accept it. However beneficial your intention is, there will be a backlash. And a classic case of that, not just we find in our relationships. As I have said, this can be applicable to all societies. Societies at the social level, it can be at the political level, at the cultural level, at the spiritual level. Yeah, society, social level, parent, child, husband, wife, any relationship for that matter. You got to be very careful. I'll get into the reasons, the pros and cons, why he's saying we don't accept anything on face value. We need to learn that. We need to examine what basis. No doubt we bow down to all the gurus, but don't take just because anything is said for granted, because then you don't know why you are doing something. As long as it should appeal to your entire personality, wholeheartedly you should be able to accept it. So what are the reasons? Perhaps I will hold back that classic example after giving the reasons. I did mention I'll give that example. Maybe it will appeal to you far greater having given the reasons. So what are the reasons why you should not unsettle the minds of the ignorant? అర్థమవుతుందమ్మా? Following. ఫస్ట్ టైం వస్తున్నావు కదా? నో, మీరు కాదు సార్, నాకు సైట్ ఏం లేదే, నేను మిమ్మల్ని చూడలేదు. అలా అనిపిస్తుందా? అలా అనిపించలేదు కదా? మీ పేరేంటి అన్నారమ్మా? వసంతి. ఫస్ట్ టైం కదా? అర్థం కాలేదంటే రేజ్ యువర్ హ్యాండ్. I'll stop immediately. Okay, right. Now what are the reasons? One of the first mistake everybody does, those who have knowledge, is they start imparting, they start giving. And the fundamental law of life we all need to learn and understand is knowledge is never given. So don't go about giving it. Knowledge is only taken, never given. Whatever amount of knowledge I have, I don't want to be falsely modest, I have some knowledge. That doesn't mean I need to keep showering my views and opinions onto people, and whomever I meet I start with Om Sahana Bhavatu. It doesn't make sense, is it? Just because I have a knowledge or opinion or view of something, I just doesn't mean I need to shower it onto others. So much so, most of the time you should be receiving knowledge. In fact, where we have one-to-one classes, at times I talk very less. I have had some experiences. I will take the freedom. Chepoja sir. our dear Seturamanji and then Shiva and one or two others, they have that little one-to-one session. Sometimes they come and we interact on certain philosophical subjects. Of late we have been deliberating. I think we'll just hold for a couple of minutes. Welcome. Can she hear well? Would you want to come ahead? Vijay, could you help her, Vijay, please? Give her the sheets as well. You want to sit next to her? We can put a chair there for you. We are on the 26th verse. He says, "Let not the wise man unsettle the minds of the ignorant." So what was I saying? So one-to-one class is going on. But as you expected, it is not the direction, it's all the direction that matters. It is the reverse direction. The student comes to the teacher to learn, but it's the teacher that should talk to the student. But in most cases, 90 out of 100, it's the student that talks and the teacher is receiving. Very good. And I am very receptive. I'm not saying in other words, sir, don't mistake me, but he is full of information. He has got so much knowledge, he has got so many with experience, and having had that industrial background, and how he finds a perfect relevance of these values to the modern situations, and how things are going haywire, and how we need to revive our culture by injecting these values. So I am very receptive.
Those are all doubts. You want to get it confirmed from the teacher. That's why they don't.
Sir, you have got a fan following, sir. And in fact, I remember, if I may, the first day when he came for the class, I remember he saying this. And I've known him just over a year, as much as I know most of you all, I suppose. And he said, "Sir, I've known you for 1 year, and I've never ever thought that I could make use of this opportunity. The fact that you have made yourself available to teach this knowledge, and I appreciate the time you're taking, and I have never ever realized that I could have made use of this opportunity. It's a near lost as far as I'm concerned." Did you say that? And that entire year, even though we found nothing extraordinary but an affinity, an understanding, but I did not in any way thrust these values onto you, did I? And after this class, this little timing they spend every 3-4 days a week, and then I go back home, and then my guru in the house, I had to handle her, I had to deal with her. That has been haunting me for 17 years. And her, she said, "You have time for everyone in the world except me?" Sir, she told me that, and she's sitting there. "I have been asking you to teach Atma Bodha from how long? From the day I have married to you, I have been telling you to teach Atma Bodha to me, but you have no time for me. Every day you go and you spend 2 hours with them and come. How did you have time for that?" I said, I always keep saying this is the best, this is the verse I can rely on. You ask for it, it will come. I can't gish out to you, no, I can't pour it, this knowledge onto you. Knowledge is always taken, sought after. The day, not that she is not, all this while she has been coming and seeking, but it's never happened that I take the stands and start teaching her. But if at all I do, she will be very receptive, I know that. But I really truly believe that situation never happened, that occasion never happened that I am sitting and teaching to a one-to-one. Fall back on the principle, knowledge is never given, let it be taken. And the moment you violate it, there will be a backlash. So never ever go about giving these views on to others. And even if you were to do point 2, you will be forcing your views on to others. Any view. You want to advise your children, your colleagues, your peers, your friends, your students at times. The moment you are trying to convey a message with a little force onto them, what would happen? What's the natural reaction to that? A rejection? A backlash? Why are you not able to convey yourself? You think you go a few steps ahead of me. Too much time you have spent with the knowledge in me, that's the reason is a result of it. I am slowly building it, though she's finished it, sir. The law, why you can't force your views onto others is because the law is anything forced is never forceful. So you can never succeed in trying to convey your views or values by forcing them. So firstly, knowledge is never given, it's always taken. And as long as you are holding on to it, what should be your exercise? The purpose is to make it your own. So when you have not made it your own, then there is an anxiety to pass it on. Then the forward button is very active in your life. Just keep forwarding to others. There is no assimilating. Forward. What's that? Share. That's the thing. You're forwarding without processing, seeing. Other day I got a message from Soumya. The moment I got that, I wrote it down. So do appreciate things that come my way at times, which was very apt to the context. They were saying, the saying said, knowledge decides what to say, attitude decides how do you say, skill decides how much you say, wisdom decides whether to say or not. So she has also read my mind sitting there. See, this fellow needs some advice, she sends me. So I am coming and sharing it. So much so I was just amidst the section of this text we were doing and something comes. So help comes, help comes, I say a few words, I am done, my job done. So true, isn't it? Wisdom says whether it's worth to say or not. So whenever you have this wisdom, that's the reason this knowledge is only given to an adhikari. Even though we say, should this knowledge benefit everyone out there? Yes, it should benefit everyone out there. Not just for a handful of you all sitting here. It should reach out to the masses. It's everyone's birthright to know what the truth is, isn't it? But still, you can't go about freely distributing it. It's not meant for everyone in that sense. That's the only reason perhaps these great masters found themselves isolating in the woods. They wouldn't want to be parking themselves in the city square, in the city center and say, hey, I'm here, please come. That's the trend now. But those days, the Mahatmas, with all the wisdom, they were very content and happy in utter solitude. Nobody was there. They were very happy by themselves with all the wisdom. And the students had to go in search of a guru to seek this knowledge. Adhikari. And also the contrary is also true. And the moment the student is ready, the guru will come. Both convey the same spirit, sir. Murti Garu. Kada? The student seeks the knowledge that qualifies him as adhikari, and you may not have to go in search. The moment you are ready, the knowledge will come. Somehow it will find its way to you. A guru will come to your doorstep. So don't violate this principle of showering these views onto others, because another reason is you can't change a person. Harish, how long does it take to change a person? Why Rajima is laughing? There is nothing hidden intention or motive behind that. I don't know why she is. Now, can you please explain that laughter? No, please. At least there is a change here. Others, there is still no change. No, you know what has happened? He has become the changeless already. He has hit the reality. Where and never know. Absolutely, you can't change others. But you know, the reason what I'm asking is, even if you do were to wish to change others and you give your precious words of advice, why is it difficult to bring about a change in another person? What is it you need to understand? Even if now, even we are giving a possibility, another person is very receptive to receive your advice. He receives it with, as Shakespeare says, please lend me thy ears. You have received it very well. What is it that the giver has to keep in mind when he is giving the advice? No. I'm saying it's not in being rejected. Earlier I said rejected because you are forcing it. Here it is. He is receiving it. Having received, what should you keep in mind? He has taken it, ma. Correct. So what you need to understand, what we need to understand. Yes, sir. Sir, a guru gives knowledge to the student. How soon does it take for the transformation to kick in? What has happened is information has parted, but for the change from information to transformation, isn't there a phase of transition? Then you got to keep quiet. That is the solution. That's what he is saying. If you think other fellow is not ready, including your husband or children or your friend or neighbor, anybody not willing your advice, you think they are not ready for it, for a tip, zip your mouth and do what? Do your life, carry on with your things. They are not ready for your advice. Why are you wasting your time? As they say, you are casting pearls before swines. Wasting your time. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Don't waste your time. But even when you have someone who is willing to come and receive and sought your advice, you must understand it takes time for knowledge to transform into wisdom. He has already led a certain lifestyle, he has already had a certain personality behind him, he has a vasanas which defined him so far, he has been whatever he was till now. Just because you want him to change, it doesn't happen overnight. As the saying goes, you don't become a Christ overnight. So give him the benefit of doubt that change is in the process. Just because the knowledge is transmitted doesn't mean that person has changed. It will take time. Why? Because the vasanas in him don't change that easily. You got to keep this in mind. Very much so. So even though you may have advised him, he has received it, appreciates it, wants to change, still there is no perceivable change. Why? Vasanas. Because you have been carrying them for a long, long time. You got to understand it, you got to respect it. Vasanas don't change suddenly. It takes a time. And more so, when you are a leader, especially in the spiritual, as I said, this is applicable even to spiritual gurus. The masses are ignorant, isn't it? The general masses are ignorant, they are indulgent, they are attached. When these higher values came across to them with a certain vehement, authoritative, imposing stance which the great masters took in certain era, at certain times in history, there was a backlash. The society couldn't accept that knowledge coming from even an authority. A classic example of overstepping, unsettling the ignorant masses. Classic example was Christ was crucified. Why was Christ crucified? Today more than half of humanity is following him. Yet he was not understood during his time. You mean to say he lacked something? Only because this principle even Christ violated. You go a step further in trying to convince them and follow what was given, they just retaliated, they just finished him. Just in the open square they crucified him. It's a shocking reality. And we experience this retaliation all through our lives, all through our relationships, because we are constantly imposing our personalities onto others. Whether I am not even considering whether you like it or not, I want to impose my views onto you. And it is worst when there is an authoritative stance. As a parent, student, or a parent, child, teacher, student, it is a massacre going on. It's a destruction of the highest order. In every home you can see this. Just because you have an authoritative stance, you start imposing your views onto others, and what does it make to the recipient? What is the impact, ma? What would happen? It causes a great level of frustration because you are violating the principle of unsettling the minds of the ignorant. So never ever unsettle others. So what you should do? Let them live their lives. I don't see any other advice coming from here. Let them live their lives. You have no reason to unsettle the firm conviction and the belief they are working with. They have a firm conviction and you're trying to uproot them. It can't happen that way. And then comes the second half of the verse where he says, acting united, let him render his actions attractive. That's all. So one just needs to fall in line with the flow of the society. You just can't go and stand against them and say stop. So can you imagine a generation? You just have to imagine this. A generation is walking and they are all attracted to something very dazzling up in the sky. They're so baffled with that and they are all looking up and they are all walking. And at the end of it there is actually a precipice, a deep fall, a precipitous death thereafter. And nobody seems to realize where they are going. And you realize what's going on, you know, and everybody is killing themselves, and you try to go and raise an alarm and say, man, you guys are killing yourselves, you know, where you're heading, watch out, watch out. You will be taken away with the force. You stand no chance in raising any level of alertness. what I am trying to say is, you can't, however great you are, you can't go out into the world and try to say, I want to reform the society, I want to change the society, I want to transform the society. How much ever you may do it, but you got to be very, very careful how you approach it, because you are going against a very powerful current. Chances are you will be swept away with the flow. The best way to impact the society is just lead by example, act with that union with the self, let them be drawn to you. They will be drawn to you. Let that happen naturally, and once that happens, it will have its own effect. And what's the tragedy of all is, you have the knowledge, you want to help, but you can't help. Why? He is not ready for it. I have had this experience very first time in my life with Swamiji in 97. No, not 97. 91. When I just joined the ashram, and I had taken an appointment with him to go and ask some personal advice from him. And I was just very young, immature, just 16. I wanted to share something, get his view. I went one-to-one, I explained a few minutes. Abruptly got up and walked out. I was sitting there for next 5 minutes. I thought maybe he went to the washroom, or maybe he had to tell something to someone. Then I went to his room, and he was sitting reading newspaper. I am sitting there still waiting, hoping he is coming back. I did not know what happened. Then I said, Swamiji, I was waiting for you there. I thought the appointment was finished, no? Sorry, Swamiji, I was very afraid, I don't know what to say also. I thought, have I done any mistake, Hey, Nora, what I am saying is, you came and you wanted to say something. You said, I heard appointment finished. Sorry, Swamiji, I don't understand. No. You don't get the point even now. You wanted to say something, I heard. But you didn't ask my opinion, no? You asked my opinion, I'll give you. You want to say something, you said, I heard, I'm gone, finished, chapter closed. That day I learned this verse. I understood much later when this verse came. Are you asking me or telling me? He's very particular, very clear. If you want to tell something, whatever you want to say, I will listen to you. You want my opinion? Ask me. Surrender to me. And then shut up. Follow whatever is told, will you follow? Jump from the balcony, will you jump from the balcony? You are willing to do that? Once a teacher or a guru sees one who has surrendered to him, Sharanagati, then you are at his disposal. Because you have no more ego, which he says the next few verses, how ego interferes and destroys you. That is how that's a relationship between any giver and a taker. Yes, sir. कुछ